What's up everybody, Fortexfiend here, and welcome back again to another video on SD Gundam G Generation Eternal. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at Destiny Impulse and Full Armor HYAKU Shiki. We're going to deep dive into these units, analyze them, and then I'm going to give you guys my personal opinion if I think they're good or not, and also which pilots you could consider using for them, whether being free SSRs or even SSRs from the Gacha. Now, if you do decide to use UR pilots with this, by all means go ahead and do so, but I'm trying to keep it as free-to-play friendly as I can as possible, because I know those of you that are free-to-play or don't spend as much on this game may not have all of those UR pilots available. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into it. We're going to go ahead and take a look at Destiny Impulse first. So this is going to be our attacker unit featured from the Mobile Suit Gundam Seed Destiny series. So I want to take a look at its tags first, because that's always important. So in terms of series, Mobile Gundam Seed Destiny MSV and Seed Destiny. And then in terms of tags, the ones that stand out to me the most are first going to be Lightning Fast, because Lightning Fast does have some pretty solid URs within its lineup, especially if you have access to the UR warship for it. And if you are lacking some URs, you can't build a full UR team with Lightning Fast, and you have this unit fully built, which most of you should. The event is still currently live. It's very easy to get this thing to full max limit break. Then by all means, it's a pretty solid unit to do so. It also has Test Type. Now I know Test Type is not nearly as good. However, we did get a UR warship for that when the Stardust memory banner came out. So if you happen to have that warship, this is another unit that you could consider using for it. In terms of tags that are more generalized, it does have alternative series and seed series. So you could definitely use this unit in Expert 2, and as well as the Seed Series Expert Eternal Road. So all in all, very, very good tags. In terms of its actual weapon skills, it has access to a melee one and 2 ranged ones. Its melee one is actually its most powerful skill, having a power at 5,280, and also has that effect where the closer you are, the higher the weapon power, up to 12%. So it's a little bit in your face, but I do like how it has a range of up to 2. So then that way you don't nearly have to be as close to it. But if you're already that close to an enemy, you're probably going to get counterattacked anyway. But it does have that as its most powerful weapon skill. And then it has 2 range skills. The first one being this one, which has a range of up to 3. It has the power is higher than that. It's actually at, let me pull it up here. If I went to upgrade it, the power for this one goes up to 4,080. Not as good as its other one, but still, it is an option there. And then finally, if we take a look at its more powerful range skill, this one has a range of 4. So this one has the effect, if your HP is lower, the greater the weapon power increase, up to 12%. So kind of a riskier style of play, but it kind of gives you an option of if you're too close and your HP is low, you can kind of move back and use this skill to be a little bit safer and hopefully not get counterattacked. So pretty good and solid options there. In terms of its abilities, it has increased attack. It has vigor conditions, which I find this one the most interesting. So when vigor is super high or higher, it gets a 15% attack increase, which I think that's cool, but then it increases its own weapon energy consumption by 30%. So, like a double-edged sword, which I think is an interesting design. And if there's other units that have this, you guys let me know in the comments. But for me, this is the first time that I'm personally seeing this in-game, because I've seen Vigor before, but I've never seen it with that. Usually it's attack and defense increase, but the attack increase is pretty good. It's just they kind of gave you a negative effect there, which I think is pretty interesting. And then afterwards, this unit also does have a form of damage mitigation, reducing physical weapons damage taken by 30%. Again, for PvE, this is definitely very useful. For PvP, maybe not so much, especially because UR units are running around with EX abilities that do have weapon damage nullification. It also does have one more form of damage mitigation with shield defend. I'm always for this. Whenever a unit has this, whether they're not even a defender, they're a supporter or attacker, that's always good, because whenever you're defending, if you're able to survive just a little bit longer, gives that unit a little bit more value. Terrain capability is great. Has full access to space, air, and land with half to underwater. And then its attack stat is pretty respectable. Without it being SP converted, it's a little under 10,000, but when it is SP converted, it does shoot up above that. So all in all, I think Destiny Impulse as like a hybrid melee range damage dealer is pretty solid. I actually don't think it's the best free SSR that we've seen in terms of attacking type units. The Stardust Memory one, for example, the GPO one, I think personally is better, especially if you're trying to play the range game, which for me, if I'm using DPS, I prefer to play at a ranged game because that way you're staying hopefully as safe as possible from being counterattacked, and it's just easier to play in my personal opinion. But this unit has both options of being like playing like a keep away game and also playing like an in-your-face game. So all in all, very, very solid unit overall. Great for free to play. Now, in terms of actual pilots that you want to use with this unit, if you're going the more free to play route, and if you're going more of the route of like, I want to focus on this unit's range damage more primarily, then I'm going to have to recommend Ko Oraki. Ko Oraki has a way to increase not only his attack, but also his MP right off the bat. His range stat is the highest, I believe, with the SSR free attackers. His range stat is the highest if we're talking like free SSR attacker units. Now, if you want to use a free SSR attacker that has like a balance of both ranged and melee, then you can also opt to use Nyan instead. And Nyan also has access to that MP increase, and her range and melee stats at full level are above 500, which to me that's pretty good because that way you could kind of make use of both of the units melee attacks and also the 2 range attacks that it does have. Now, if you're going more of like a gacha route and you manage to pull one of the gacha SSR pilots, by far the best SSR pilot for this unit, in my opinion, especially if you're going to go with a range route, is going to be Demisier, because Demisier's range stat at max level is above 700, and that is by far the highest for the SSR attacking pilots overall. So if you're making use of Destiny Impulse's range, this pilot is a very, very good option to use if you manage to have this pilot in your roster. Again, gacha unit. And then another one, if you want to make use of both the range and melee, is going to be Amida. Amida's range and melee stats are also pretty good. Her range stat, I believe, is like the second highest of the SSR attacking pilots, and you can confirm that in the Eternal Wiki. And then her melee stat is pretty respectable too, so you're getting a good balance. Range is better, but melee is also pretty solid, so that way you can take advantage of Destiny Impulse's most powerful weapon skill, which happens to be a melee skill. But all in all, those are going to be my pilot suggestions for that particular unit. Again, if you're going to use a UR pilot, by all means go ahead and do so, but I'm trying to make it a bit more like free-to-play friendly or easier to choose a pilot, so then that way you don't have to worry about having every single UR pilot. Okay, we're now going to go ahead and talk about the full armor HYAKU Shiki Kai. I absolutely love the HYAKU Shiki line. I think they look amazing. So this is going to be a defender type unit. In terms of tags, first off, with series, we have Mobile Suit Variation and Char's Counterattack, which is great. The 2 tags that stand out to me are Test Type and Tough as Nails. Tough as Nails, we have 2 UR ships for that, which are fantastic. Test Type, we have that one. Again, if you manage to have it, you can use it with a Test Type team. And then in terms of like generic type tags, you got UC Series and AEUG. You could take this unit into Eternal Road Expert 1, and also the new one that we got with Shower's Counterattack. So those are some options that you could use this unit for in terms of Eternal Road. In terms of its actual like stats, its defense stat sticks out to me. Its HP is pretty solid for a free SSR unit. Its weapon skills, all of them are ranged. So you definitely want to try to find like a defender type range pilot that has, very good ranged capabilities. So this one has 4320 with a range of 3. This waste missile pod has a defense or attack down debuff, at 25%. Not as good as the UR, but it's still a good option if you're using this unit, and it has a range of 4. And then afterwards, Long Mega Buster has a respectable power at 4800 with a range of 4, and it has one of those new debuffs, decreasing beam weapon power by 25% on the enemy. And then afterwards, its passives or abilities has increased defense, increased attack, and has a form of damage mitigation with beam damage reduced. So if you're taking incoming beam damage, as long as it doesn't have weapon damage nullification, you're going to be reducing that damage. Unfortunately, for a defender type unit, it does not have the shield defend, but that's okay. All in all, this is also a solid defender unit. Probably one of my favorite free SSR defender units, because for me, I absolutely love the design. I really, really like the HYAKU Shiki. Now, in terms of pilots, so the best free-to-play pilot, in my opinion, that is an SSR that you could use, is going to be Kelly, okay? So if you manage to play through the Stardust event, the memory event that was out a few weeks ago, and you got him, he's definitely going to be your best option in terms of like a free-to-play SSR Defender Pilot. He has the highest range stat from what I've gathered from the free SSR Defender Pilot. So that's what I'm personally basing it on if you're choosing a pilot for that unit. Now, if you want to go a bit more of like a gacha route and you manage to pull a gacha unit that's a Defender SSR, then I would definitely go with Beside. Besides, range stat is the highest from the free SSR Defenders. And not only that, has access to Force Guard and HP Repair, which are very, very good skills to have for a Defender pilot. But those are going to be my recommendations for full armor HYAKU Shiki Kai. I think both of these units, again, are great options for free-to-play players or light spenders who don't have all of the URs, don't have all of the Gacha SSRs, but want options. And they're very easy to farm as long as the events are out. You could easily get these units all the way up to max Limit Break 3 as long as you play through the event. It's also a great way to farm for some of those weapon materials, especially if you don't have them all fully maxed out for the previous Fierce Enemy Battle Assaults. So all in all, very, very good units for free to play. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Have you guys been using these two units? What do you guys think overall? Which pilots are you guys using with them, whether free to play, whether gacha? I'd love to hear all of it in the comment section. Thank you guys again for watching. Stay tuned for the next video and stay blessed, everybody.